Power scaling has been like really dry recently, especially for the monsterverse. Well, my main, whatever. But I feel like most topics are starting to be brought to a closure, so I'm gonna try and at least end this little debate once and for all. I feel like the GvK agenda is kind of like dumbed out and over now. No one really thinks evolved is above burning anymore. I think the community has kind of just grasped around and agreed that, except for like the Kongoons, but yeah, because we all know they just want that agenda or whatever. Although there has been a few certain people that spread a little bit horrible agenda. Like some people literally think Mecha Godzilla is above Shimu and Evolve, which is just fucking insane. I'll make my own little video on Mecha Godzilla later though. But yeah, we're ready to get started. The G21 versus G14, I feel like it's actually starting to be like a more widely debatable topic. When people are finally actually like looking at like actual stuff and realizing that the agenda is kind of terrible. So out that way, I'll just get on to why the G21 stuff is just not good. First of all, we go over like the speed point, which a lot of people to bring up. First of all, they kind of like imply in the VFX readings that they kind of like speed up the films and stuff. So just because you're faster doesn't really mean you're stronger. Nothing really shows that like the applicable concept will be applied here. Like it just doesn't really mean anything. Same thing for like glow and stuff. Glow is also stated just to be like a visual effects thing that Adam Wingard wanted. It doesn't really mean anything either. Not to mention it's pretty inconsistent throughout this film, since we see a 50% G21 glow almost as equally as his base in Penisquilla. Not to mention, when he does the Hollow Earth thing, it's really comparable to Blue GvK, who's obviously above the Hollow Earth Godzilla by a pretty decent amount. But obviously, everyone is just going to cope and just say that's not true at all. It's just like a little minor difference. But the problem with this, if it's a minor difference and an inconsistency, then the entire scale would drop. So I don't know why you're still using glow args in 2026. They literally get contradicted so badly throughout the film, so yeah. I actually have seen some people try to use Jared Gressy's statements still. They're saying this guy's a fan, he doesn't really have authority, stop using these statements. Though this part's mainly irrelevant because like it's just so easy to debunk. I'm not gonna make a full analysis on this. Like anyone can debunk this. Like anyways, now we go to the readings. So the part about the readings is people usually like to say how they like measure radiation and stuff and that they be off the charts. There's this one statement saying that the radiation's out the roof and it's off the chart. People usually get this wrong with charts. It's not charts, it's chart. People also like to clearly like disacknowledge that the radiation readers and how they pick it up are different. Like we obviously see throughout the movies, the tech obviously evolves. That's the entire purpose of the entire franchise. So like I don't get why you can really assume the readings just mainly got stronger. Sorry for that cutout. But yeah, it's also kind of implied in the GvK novel. The Rage Imp extends the reading, so unless you want to say a 50% Kong or like a stronger Kong, it didn't even say he got back to his base. A weaker than base Kong is stronger than like Nuke Imp and G21 itself, which is clearly contradicted. Let's just go ahead. That's terrible. Like the readings, they're just clearly inconsistent. The own people who study the readings literally say it can't be controlled. So I don't want to hear any more bullshit about that. Another people do have to realize is that radiation also depletes on like rings and stuff. They could also just be like at a certain distance, like gain more than others. So it's kind of like weird to say the radiation readers matter. Because like let's say I go to something like really quickly, which probably did happen. It could have went up and stuff. But like if you stand back, it kind of goes down. So yeah, no, they're not really like, that's stupid. But yeah, the readings just aren't really the best usage for the scaling. Kind of all this falls apart. The big question is, what about this other stance? D21 has statements of just being the strongest, but they're all promo material. The problem with promotional material is that it's mainly intentionalized to just like give out like hype to people and stuff. It doesn't really mean anything that much either. Also, some of these statements are like from Toho, they're not even like from Legendary, so it's even still kind of skeptical if whether it's even true or not. But I haven't seen these shitty scans in a while, so I'm not gonna pay too much attention to it in the video. But both these versions of Godzilla are stated to be the strongest things at the time. 2014 is a little different. It doesn't necessarily mean he's above Ghidorah, because Ghidorah is not really on the planet. He's not really a part of the ecosystem. It's referenced many times that he isn't. So it doesn't really matter. He still scales above everyone else. Same thing for Godzilla 2021. He also has all these statements that are like just strongest at the time. Nothing can beat him, etc., etc., etc. The only strong things at the time are the Queen Muto, Kong. That's really it. I guess like you could probably argue a few others, but yeah, those are like the main stuff. Oh yeah, Rodan and Silo as well, probably. Those are like the only relevant stuff. Both of these characters are kind of implied to be above like the Mutos and stuff. So they both have like some sort of congruent scaling to each other. 21's basically stated just undefeatable, which is kind of consistent shown throughout the film, except for his fight with Mechagodzilla, which is kind of conditional since he was weakened at that time. So anyways, besides for that, now that we have some congruent scaling that they're both above both of these opponents, we will go on to the other scaling on why G21's actually weakened. First off, in Penasquilla and the Greg Keyes novel, he kind of implies that he isn't full power. He's still weakened. It doesn't mean he's like 70%, 80%, 90%. We don't really have a quantifier for it. I don't know where people get this from. All we know is that he's just weaker than his base, or weaker than 2019. Adam Wingard also backs this up by saying he constantly gets tired throughout the film. But for the sake of this video, I'll just use like him as a whole, G21 as a whole, and I'll just use the one that's shown in 2014, the Godzilla, the EMP nerf one. So yeah, I'll send the scan right now. Adam Wingard does actually imply that he does get weaker throughout time, but it doesn't really matter too much for the relevancy of the video, since any version of Godzilla gets weaker over time. 2014 also has these statements as well. So
yeah, so this scene used to be much more of a Godzilla and Mechagodzilla, battling it out, and there was a lot more give and take, and ultimately it just didn't work. It was like at the end of the day, the only thing that really made sense to show in this fight was Godzilla just getting his ass handed to him. Mechagodzilla is designed to take on Godzilla, and Godzilla, by the way, I think would probably do a lot better in this fight if he had just done a couple rounds with Kong. I mean, Godzilla's pretty tired. I mean, he hasn't had a chance to really slow down this entire movie. And presumably, he's been swimming around and, going nuts in the ocean when he's not on screen. So, when Mechagodzilla comes out, they just, he doesn't have a lot of reserves left in him, and so it's a bit unfair.
Though, to be honest, Godzilla 2014 is also weakened. The EMPs are stated to weaken 2014. It's not quantifiable though, so you can't really deposit it that much. But, which I'll get to the biggest part of this video, is the actual chain scaling on which one of these weaker Godzillas is actually stronger than each other. The creator of Aftershock Godzilla being 2014, well, one of the people who participated in it is someone named Drew. I'm going to get down to why. First of all, he's valid, made some pretty noticeable statements about what will happen if Kong got into a fight with Muto Prime. And so basically, Drew kind of implies that if Kong doesn't have armor, he would practically just get utterly destroyed. He basically just implies that Muto Prime would just kill Kong if he didn't have armor, which G21 has to do in 2 hits rather than just one. So I think I should probably just say that she's probably around the same level as G21, maybe a bit higher. So Drew has worked on multiple Kong projects. It's not just one. He's worked on multiple projects for Kong and stuff, etc. The statement that Drew kind of says, a lot of people like to use this. Drew says, Everett thinks he's more valid than him. He's just basing this off of that Everett is a creator. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. The problem with Everett is that he contradicts himself a lot. So you need to prove that he could somehow intentionalize or read Everett's mind, that he knows all the contradictions that he said. He's just saying this off of skepticism without really any proof, because Everett asserts some sort of higher authority than him. This doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't really conceit to ever be more valuable than him, or him not really have as much authority. Mainly just skepticizes because Everett just has a higher hierarchy, which doesn't really mean much. It's kind of just like an appeal to authority type of thing. Now we just get to G14, scaling to Aftershock, which is usually used by Everett stuff. Everett isn't really that consistent with his words. He switches up a lot. He also kind of just like, I don't really know how to say it. He kind of just says or implies he's just like a fan, so I wouldn't really take his words as valid. All we do know is that Aftershock should probably be weaker than 2014 due to him still likely be recovering. They only take 6 months apart from each other. Or does anything really ever say he's recovered? So now that we kind of have like all of this put together, I can probably draw a conclusion that 2014 would probably be above 2021. So I would probably give it like a high diff or something, somewhere like around there. But yeah, that's basically it. I generally think that the GvK just not really that appealing. The only real thing that he could arguably have is like speed, if you can even argue that. That's even if you can argue that, because that could just be argued just VFX options, or like probably just like better fighting, which doesn't really matter that much since like his build isn't that significant. G21 is significantly larger than 2014 though. Well, not significantly, but it's not by a lot. He's larger than him as well, so he probably would be able to somewhat like push him around, but like 2014 is overall still stronger and more durable, and his beam's also stronger. So yeah, that really wraps it up for today's video. I hope you guys enjoy it, but my next video I'll try and maybe do a collab or just like something else altogether. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I guess that's really it.